Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And I brought out the meditation books today because I haven't read a meditation over here in quite some time. I think about a week ago, I got online and I read some affirmations and kind of responded to them. And it seemed to me like people kind of miss those. So I thought today I'm going to break out the Melody Beatty books. It's a beautiful day in Indianapolis. It's a little cooler than it was yesterday, but it's still really nice outside. It's sunny outside. I'm going to take a walk a little bit later. And so I thought, let's get into thought today. Let's get into thought. And so, you know, I do the meditations every morning. I don't usually do these because I've done them so much over here. But I probably have at this point, I don't even know how many meditation books I have in the house. I have my mom's meditation books, and I have my meditation books from when I got sober, and gifts that I've received through the years. I just have tons of them, and so I pick 3 or 4 every single day to read, and I love them so much. So the Melody Beatty books, though, are my favorites. The Language of Letting Go, which is the sister book to Codependent No More, and then Journey to the Heart, Daily Meditations on the Path for Freeing Your Soul. So I thought that I would go over here today and I would read these, and haven't done this in a long time. Used to do these a lot, and it's been quite a while. So let's go in here and see. Today is February 10th. Let's see what it says for February 10th. All right, here we are. February 10th, letting go of sadness. It's a good one for me right now. A block to joy and love can be unresolved sadness from the past. In the past, we told ourselves many things to deny the pain. It doesn't hurt that much. Maybe if I just wait, things will change. It's no big deal. I can get through this. Maybe if I try to change the other person, I won't have to change myself. We denied that it hurt because we didn't want to feel the pain. Unfinished business doesn't go away. It keeps repeating itself until it gets our attention, until we feel it, deal with it, and heal. That's one lesson we are learning in recovery from codependency and adult children issues. Many of us didn't have the tools, support, or safety we needed to acknowledge and accept pain in our past. It's okay. We're safe now. Slowly, carefully, we begin to open ourselves up to our feelings. We begin the process of feeling what we have denied so long, not to blame, not to shame, but to heal ourselves in preparation for a better life. It's okay to cry when we need to cry and feel the sadness many of us have stored within for so long. We can feel and release these feelings. Grief is a cleansing process. It's an acceptance process. It moves us from our past into today, into a better future, a future free of sabotaging behaviors, a future that holds more options than our past. God, as I move through this day, let me be open to my feelings. Today, help me know that I don't have to either force or repress the healing available to me in recovery. Help me trust that if I am open and available, the healing will happen naturally in a manageable way. I love this meditation. It's interesting because usually when I read these meditations, especially on here, I'm like, oh, I remember this meditation, or there's something about it that, you know, like, kind of hits home because I've read these meditations for years and years and years, and I've read many of them on here, you know. But this one, it doesn't feel familiar to me of reading it. But I think it's an interesting meditation nonetheless, and I love the idea of letting go of sadness and how do we do that, you know. And talking about grief. And the way that I usually, when I read these meditations, I just kind of go with my gut, what I'm thinking about at that moment. And so what I'm thinking about right now is, you know, the grieving of my mother when initially I started going through that process. And, you know, I was numb for a long time after my mom passed away. I didn't really know how to feel or how to express my feelings. I didn't know how to put words to those feelings. I didn't really know how to tell other people. Loss like that feels so surreal. I can remember when my mom, like the night that she passed away, and I can remember thinking to myself, this person that has literally been with me the entire journey of my life is now gone. This person that's known me my entire life, you know, before I was even born, is no longer here. That person that's, you know, been by my side that whole time. And it just was like this completely surreal feeling. And I remember when my Aunt Kathy passed away, and I went over to her house, and my cousin Caroline was there, and I can remember her, when I got there, she was standing, you know, in the driveway, and or we were talking in the driveway, and she said something about, she used the word surreal too, you know, and I think that like grief is such a surreal feeling. I think that feeling our emotions sometimes authentically is so surreal, because I don't think that we really are taught how to do that, you know? I think, you know, just in talking about my experience, I can remember if I had feelings or emotions when I was growing up, especially like in school, you know, when I was being bullied and made fun of for being less than anyway, that if I were to cry or feel an emotion or act a certain way, or if somebody hurt my feelings, to act like they hurt my feelings was then an expression of weakness. And so I was taught, not by any one person, but really by the event that was occurring, I was taught to suppress my emotions and my feelings and not feel them, because it was safer for me that way. And I think often in life and in society, we're taught that to feel our feelings authentically and out loud is not safe. And that's kind of what this meditation was talking a little bit about, you know? And then it's interesting because you get older, you know, and many of us enter therapy or counseling and we're told to feel our feelings, and yet we don't know how to do that, you know? I remember getting sober, and a friend of mine was dating somebody that I knew as well, and he went back out and started using again, and they like broke up, and I can remember she got very, very upset, and she said the worst part of being sober is having all these feelings and not having anything to mute them or numb them. And I think, you know, that was the other thing, is that I grew up suppressing my emotions and my feelings about things, and then I went right into like using, and then using suppressed my emotions and my feelings, and then all of a sudden I take all that away and I'm stripped of all of that, and then I don't really know what to do with my emotions or my feelings. When my mom passed away, you know, there was a period of time where I was numb, and then I started feeling my emotions and stuff, and then I don't know at what point it was, but people started telling me, you need to move on, like you need to move on, you know, and I've shared this on here quite a bit, but I called a friend of mine who had lost her son, and I said, you know, people keep on telling me how to move on, and I don't know what that means. I don't know how to do that. And she said to me, no, we don't ever move on. We move through the pain, and we carry those memories with us forever. And that's what this meditation is talking about. This meditation is talking about not suppressing our feelings, not pushing them down, not allowing ourselves to feel them, but working through the pain. And working through the pain is the healing process. When I say that, and every time I say that in a video, I'll always get like at least 1 or 2 comments, and people will say, I'm kind of confused what you mean by like working, like, you know, moving through the pain. Moving through the pain is allowing yourself to feel whatever you're feeling in the moment authentically, you know, allowing yourself to do that, allowing yourself to feel those emotions, identify those emotions, you know, feel them as deeply as you possibly can until they start to lighten up, and then continue to go on. Because if you don't, you're suppressing them, and they're all going to come out at some point, right? I think we've all felt that before when we're struggling. Like I've been struggling recently. I've shared that on my other channels, you know, and it's like it's come out here and it's come out there and whatever, you know. And so you know, I think to feel our feelings authentically, you know, I can remember like when after I heard that, I learned to, like, if like a song came on the radio, you know, and that reminded me of my mom, and I would, like, you know, like just stop whatever I was doing in that moment, and I would just listen to the song, and I would allow myself to feel that emotion. And if I needed to cry, I cried, and sometimes I just didn't really have any, you know, outward emotion, but I just let myself feel that feeling as deeply as I could, and then gave myself 5 or 10 minutes, and then just allowed myself to naturally move through it. And I think that was important for me, and I've done that with every person in my life that has passed away. You know, I've had these moments where I've sat by myself, or, you know, at viewings or funerals, or during that whole process, and just allowed myself, and even asked myself, like in my head, like, what do you feel right now? Like, what's going through your head? And really allowing myself, not worried about what people around me think, not worried about what's their response going to be if I burst out, you know, crying, or if I have a funny memory that comes into my mind and I laugh, you know, because people will say, well, that's not an appropriate reaction or whatever, you know. It's about going through it and feeling the pain, allowing yourself to feel the pain, allowing yourself to be hurt, because we've never allowed ourselves to be hurt before, you know? And sometimes what we see as defenses against pain are our own worst enemies, because when we don't allow ourselves to feel our own pain, then we're keeping ourselves from like we're pushing that down, and then that pain's going to eventually come out later, and how we talk to people and how we talk to ourselves and self-sabotage in our relationships with other people, it's going to come out. And so it's healthier for us to move through the pain to the other side. When I hear people say you just need to move on, what that means to me is kind of like skipping over the process of healing, skipping over the process of feeling the pain, not allowing myself to feel that pain, but just kind of like skipping over it. For me, it's important whether that process takes me a month, a year, 10 years, or 20 years, or 60 years. It's important for me to go through that and feel that pain, whether that's a loss of a career or an ending, like moving somewhere, or, you know, ending like college, or a relationship or a friendship, you know, or whatever you're experiencing, or the loss of like a pet or a person, you know, in your life, is allowing yourself to feel those feelings. And that's the healing from the pain, you know. And I think that that's what's the most important, you know, to do. And, you know, I've heard this equation or this analogy for years, that the way that you build muscle is by breaking down the muscle and building it back up. And I think to some degree, you know, the feeling parts of ourselves are very similar to that. You know, that you have to kind of like break yourself down a little bit and allow yourself to feel that pain and that emotion, and then build yourself up slowly through that, you know, to where you feel like you're on the other side of working through that pain. But you're going to always carry those memories with you forever. I can tell you right now, if I had not authentically, I don't want to ever forget my mom, right? Like, I don't want to ever forget her or whatever. But, you know, my mom passed away, it'll be 16 years this May, 16 years ago this May, and I can remember, like, those first 4 to 5 years, I thought, like, I'm never gonna, like, it's gonna be every day, right? Well, it's not every day anymore, you know, and I even live in the home that she lived in, and it's not every day, it's not even maybe every third day or something like that, where, like, there's always something that will kind of come into my head, but I don't get fixated on it the way that I do. You know, grief changes over time. That doesn't mean that I love my mom any less, you know. I think there's also this part of us that if we stop thinking about that person or that pet, or if we're not fixated on them all the time, that it's a betrayal of their memory, and that's just not true, you know. I know my mom well enough to know, and she even told me this at times, that she would want me to go on and have a great life. She would want that. She wouldn't want me fixated on, oh my God, I miss my mom, I miss my mom, I miss my mom, you know? And I had to live in that for quite some time to work through it, to really feel the emotions and the pain and cry about it and really feel it and feel the loss, to kind of get to the other side where it's like, I miss my mom, you know? I do. But I also know she's not coming back. And I deserve to live my life, and she would want that for me, and to realize that, and then in honor of my mom living the best life that I can, you know, in honor of people that aren't here anymore, that can't live their life, to live the best possible life that I possibly can, and however I define that, you know. And I think that that's moving through the pain. I think in looking back on my life, and just even recently with like deeper therapy and stuff like that, part of not wanting to work through the pain is not wanting to have to identify and really feel the really tough emotions that come along with that, you know? I think often why people do move on and don't work through is because they want to just skip over that part where they have to feel anything, you know? I've done that in my life too, you know, where I've just like, oh, well, I don't want to really feel this, so I'm just going to skip over it. Well, that pain is still there. You can skip over it, but it's still there. And you're going to come back to that at some point. It's going to rise again some point in your life. It has in mine. At least, I mean, in my life it has, you know? Somewhere down the road it's come back up. And so I think that's why it's so important for me to feel those feelings at that time. That was a good meditation, especially right now in my life. Okay, so now I'm going to read from Journey to the Heart. I kind of miss doing these. I had done these for so long that I was trying to kind of get away from them a little bit and just tell stories and stuff like that. But I went into my comments and there weren't a lot of comments asking me questions, so I thought I would read from meditations today. February 10th, free yourself from manipulation. Learn to recognize passive-aggressive hits. Learn to recognize when other people have hidden agendas, when they're trying to control or manipulate you. When you're being controlled, we may feel guilty, obligated, indebted. In our muddled state, we agree to another's wishes, but we're not sure why. Then we wander around feeling uncertain, unbalanced, confused. the lesson still isn't about them. The lesson is about how we respond. If their behavior, their energy is affecting us that strongly, it's because something in us needs to be healed. A part of us isn't clear. It's still mucked up by something old and outworn, such as guilt or fear. Once we heal ourselves, we will know how to deal with their energy, how to handle their passive-aggressive behavior and their attempts to control us. Then we can thank them for helping trigger our healing process, for helping us grow. Everything that happens along the way is part of the journey. Everything can be incorporated into our healing process. All roads lead to growth. I think this is an interesting approach about people that are manipulators in our lives, you know. And I have to tell you that is my attitude today, but my attitude was much different years ago, you know. I think that today in my life, well, I have a very small circle, you know, in my life today. I just have a few friends. I don't have a huge family, not tons of in-laws and stuff like that. So my family is very small. And the people that are in my life today are very real salt of the earth people, that I know are not about manipulation and deceit. And so, I don't worry on a daily basis about the people that are surrounding me. When I meet new people, I have to say my red flags for manipulation go up pretty quickly. And people that I just interact with, you know, on a somewhat casual basis, I don't really have a lot of tolerance for being manipulated today, and in all honesty, I don't have a problem, you know, and maybe it's my age, maybe it's my life experience, maybe that I've been manipulated by so many people in my life. I don't really have a problem saying no to something, or say I'm not going to allow this, or, you know, and I'll say it to somebody's face, like, I don't really have a problem with that, you know, like, I don't have to get into a conversation with them and be like, no, you're manipulating me because you want me to feel, I don't need to explain that to them, okay, because typically, people that are manipulators either are completely unaware of what they are doing because it's so deep-seated into who they are. And then for me, on a situation like that, like if I were to take that to my sponsor in recovery, my sponsor would say, well, that's the situation where you need to do the prayer for the sick man, where I have to see them as a sick person that doesn't know any better, right? Or they're people that are trying to get something from me, or they want something from me, and so they're going to manipulative tactics. I know today in my life where my boundaries are. I know what I allow in my life and what I don't allow. I don't allow negativity. I don't allow bullshit. I don't allow, you know, the negativity is the biggest one, you know? I don't allow, there's just a lot of, like, crap that I don't even know that I necessarily know how to define, honestly, because I'm sitting here and I'm kind of, like, stumbling over my words. But when I spot it, I can see it, you know what I mean? Like, and so, you know, which is so funny because I'm thinking of the recovery sayings, if you spot it, you got it. But that's not necessarily true in my life. I do think that that was true way back in the day, you know, when I would see things in other people, they were mirrors for me. That's not necessarily the case today. Because like I said, I keep my circle very, very small. You know, I've had people in my life that it's like, okay, this is a good example, right? That I've set pretty strict boundaries with, and I've been like, okay, like, anybody that I have, like, said, like, okay, this relationship is no more, and I've made that very clear in multiple ways, you know, because that relationship or that person is so negative, that I just can't have that negativity and that toxicity in my life. It's just not healthy for me. When that person will, like, you know, like, reach out to me, and they'll be like, hey, I was just thinking of you. Like, I'm not rude, okay? Like, I don't just, like, not respond. I'll be like, oh, it's great hearing from you, or whatever, right? It was interesting because in watching Vanderpump Rules, the first episode, there's a part where they're talking, and one of the characters, or one of the castmates, said something about foot-in-the-door conversations, and I was like, oh my god, this is so true. Like, I feel like I deal with this weekly from people from my past, right? And a foot-in-the-door conversation is where you have a conversation with somebody, but then their purpose is for a bigger purpose, right? I have probably a couple people in my life where I've set some pretty strict boundaries, where I'm like, I made it pretty clear that, like, the relationship is done. Like, I feel like I've made it very clear how negative they are, and, you know, they continue to be that way, and, you know, it's just like, you know, I'm a believer in that people come in our life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, and it's okay to have season relationships and cherish those season relationships, you know, and just be like, wow, that relationship is no longer or whatever. I don't need to continue to go back to 20 years ago, to that friendship that I had 20 years ago and go, God, I wish I don't need that. You know what I mean? Like, I need to play it through and remember how it ended instead of romancing how it began. I don't need to continue to live in the really good times, because in the past, when I've lived in the really good times of remembering past relationships that did not end great, that leads me back into foot in the door conversations, right? But, you know, probably once a year, once every 6 months or something like that, I'll have a foot in the door conversation. And in all honesty, I fall into it sometimes, right? And somebody will reach out to me and they'll be like, hey, it was just like, you know, like I'll run into somebody, or they'll, you know, something, and they'll be like, it was good, you know, I'll post something on Facebook, and then they'll text me and be like, oh, I saw that you posted this. Well, I hardly ever post on Facebook, so I don't know what that would be. But, you know, like a picture on Instagram or something, they'll be like, oh, you know, like, did you guys have a good time in, like, Mexico? Like, we just went to Mexico or whatever. I'm like, I haven't heard from this person in 6 months. And I'll be like, okay, well, seems pretty safe, right? And then I'll be like, yeah, like, we had a good time. Like, I hope you guys had a good time in Mexico, too. And I always kind of, like, in the text, and like very conclusive things like, I hope you had a good time too. Like, I don't ask questions, I don't do leading conversations or whatever, right? And then I'm fired back with another text immediately. You know, it's like, oh yeah, we had a great time, and blah, blah, blah. And then it's like 2 or 3 texts in, it's like, and I'm not even responding at that point other than like, yes, no, maybe. It's like, I remember when we went to Mexico, or I remember when we started talking about Mexico, or we should go to Mexico. Hey, would you like to go to Mexican dinner sometime and we could get together and we could talk? No, I don't want to. I have no desire to. And I don't really know how to say that in a way without being mean to you, but, like, I've set really strict boundaries, and I've made it very, very clear, okay, that I love the friendship that we had. I'm really grateful for that friendship. I've explained to you why I don't want that friendship anymore. For some reason, you haven't heard it, and I relish that friendship as being a season of my life, that I had a really good time, but it's no longer healthy for me. And, you know, and so I have to be very, very careful. The thing is that I feel bad, you know, like, this is the thing with people that are manipulators and people that really don't ever want to work on themselves, but always wants to be constantly in your life. And so they almost, like, people that are manipulators and people that refuse to allow you to set boundaries, okay, is that they have this innate quality to make you feel bad about not allowing yourself to be manipulated or setting a boundary. You know what I mean? Like, if you've ever done it, you'll know what I'm talking about, right? It's like, you don't want to come out and just be, like, nasty and be like, look, I don't want a relationship with you, okay? Like, I thought I made it pretty clear. We had a lot of conversations about it. Over several years, I didn't really witness you changing as a person. I don't think we really have anything left anymore. Or, yeah, you're trying, every time that we have a conversation, you're trying to manipulate me with people that are manipulating us in our lives. I'm not going to allow it. I'm not going to allow myself to be manipulated and fall right back into that pattern again. And then somehow they have this innate quality to turn it on you where you feel guilty, you know? I still feel that today, but I refuse to be taken in by that. For me, it's more important that I'm surrounded by healthy, positive, caring, loving people in my life today. And, you know, even as I say that, it's interesting because, I mean, I can only probably apply this in the last 30 years of my life to maybe, like, 5 or 6 people in my life that have been, like, I've really struggled with having to set boundaries like that have been so manipulative, you know? But it's like, when I say that as, like, I only surround myself as positive people, they always present themselves first as very positive people. And I have given these people 2nd and 4th and 9th and 12th chances, because I always believe in giving people multiple chances. And every single time, I'm the one sitting there going, why was I so stupid? Why was I so stupid, you know? I gave them another chance, and they did the exact same thing to me, you know? And it's happened to me time and time again. And so as I've gotten older, and I don't feel like I require as many people in my life, I'm not willing to let that door go open as much, you know? It's time for me to work on myself. And I will say this, like, if any of those people came to me that have really, like, hurt me in the past or brought a lot of negativity or toxicity into my life, and they were able to present to me, like, if I just seen by their actions that they had really gone through, like, huge change, or, like, I witnessed, like, I mean, usually it's something you can spot it, like, in 5 seconds, right? I would be like, you know what, maybe this person isn't the person that they used to be. Like, maybe they have changed. I've changed. I believe in change and growth. But, you know, like, when you immediately witness, like, in 5 minutes of a conversation, this person hasn't changed at all, there's no reason to continue that conversation. I've had to learn that the really hard way, you know? I've shown up to a lot of lunches and dinners. I've gone on, you know, a lot of vacations with people that I've given 9th and 10th chances to, just to be sitting in a hotel room with my husband being like, I can't believe that I did this again. Like, why did I do this again, you know? Or, you know, like, I think there's a point when you have to stop giving people chances, you know? And I believe, and for them as well, you know, like, for them as well, I think some of the people in my life, especially in early recovery, that just were kind of done with me for how I treated them and how I hurt them when I was actively using. And even though, like, I went and I made amends to them and they were willing to accept my amends, they really didn't want a friendship back. And I think for me, what I realized in that moment was that I had done detrimental, you know, stuff past a point of where they were willing to accept it. Now, I don't know. I mean, it's been 29 years. If I saw them today, maybe it'd be a different story. But I think what I realized by that was that I've got to do some real change. Like, I've got to do some real work on myself to start having real relationships in my life, you know? When I accept people back that have hurt me in the past, or toxic or negative, and then I allow them back, and they've never really seen what they did, and then they continue to do it again, and I take them back, and I take them back, at some point, I'm enabling that. I'm enabling their lack of needing to change, you know? And number one, okay, that's not being a real friend to them, and number two, I'm the one that's continuing to get hurt all over again, and I'm putting myself in that position, you know? And there's no reason to do that, you know? Part of the healing process that we talk about is putting ourselves first. You know, I know when I say that in videos, people don't necessarily understand that, but it's kind of like a tenet of recovery. You have to be somewhat selfish. You have to take care of yourself first, because if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't be there for anybody else. You really can't. If you're not doing self-care and taking care of yourself, if you're not setting boundaries, healthy boundaries, and saying, I'm not letting negativity and toxicity in, then you can't be there for anybody else. So to some degree, you have to be selfish with your self-care and take care of yourself first. And healing is setting boundaries with people that are manipulative. Healing is setting boundaries with people that are toxic and negative in your life and not allowing it. I cannot be positive if I'm surrounded by negative people. I just can't, you know? I can't be positive if I'm surrounded by toxic people. I can't, and I doubt you can either, you know? So I'm grateful for these meditations. These were good today, weren't they? Anyway, let me know if you've missed these in the comment section below. If you have any questions for me or any topics that you'd like me to address in further videos, put that in the comment section below too. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.